Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. The last time we started this episode on productivity, where we are trying to get you to be more productive to maximize your year. How can you stop wasting your time? How can you create more effectiveness and efficiency for the things that you do? So we were able to address the five hierarchies of inadequacies, where we started with addressing that the fact that any of those hierarchies you find yourself in, you're likely to be inadequate. So today, I'll be discussing something more important that if you pay attention to this and get it, you'll be able to demonstrate and exhibit productivity in every single thing you do. And it's called personality SWOT analysis. Now, what this means is simple. We are going to try to identify what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and threats are. Because if you can identify what these things are at every single point in time, you'll be able to express and manifest productivity in everything you do. Now, it's important to understand what the word personality means, because this has become a problem to most people's effectiveness and efficiency. Every single human on earth has a personality, and this personality occurs in various traits. Now, the big five is conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness to experience, and extrovertedness. Now, what does this thing mean? Even if this is not the focus for today, but understanding what personality means and then the SWOT analysis for it kind of helps you address and enhance productivity better. Now, conscientiousness. Conscientious people are people who are orderly, they're industrious, they always want to get things done all the time. They can't stand things that are disordered. Now, there are various individuals that find themselves in this category, but it's not a problem because every single one of these traits or personalities exist in every single person in various categories. Now, people who are agreeable are people who are polite, who are compassionate, they're likely to put other people's needs before theirs. Now, people who are neurotic are people who are high on negative emotion. They're easy to get depressed. They're also high on other kind of negative emotions. People who maximize any of this form of productivity, they kind of demonstrate some strengths, but you don't get the strength without weaknesses. For instance, people who are agreeable, who are polite and compassionate, who put other people's needs before theirs, they're likely to be taken advantage of. But the point is not any of these personalities, because what creates these personalities in various individuals are at least four things. And it's the understanding of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that exist in any of these personalities that kind of helps you maximize productivity. Now, one of the sources of these personalities as traits are your genetics. It's no big news that you're likely to behave the way that most of your parents behaved, your grandparents as well. Some of those traits in their behavioral patterning got exhibited and manifested in your behaviors as well. It's why you can't really explain why you do some of the things you do, because these are traits that comes from your parents as well. Another source of some of these your personalities could be your experience. There are people who are highly motivated, extroverted people, they are energetic people, but maybe one traumatic experience or the other in the course of their growing up and upbringing kind of demotivated them, kind of made it impossible for them to express extrovertedness in wholesomeness. Now, outside experience, it's also possible that development could affect productivity, could affect the expression of these personalities. For instance, a young man who is unmarried could demonstrate various personalities that differs from when they are married. So, or also getting in a new environment. Environment could also affect your personality. So genetics, experience, environment, development, going to a new place could affect your personality and all that. Now, what this means is this. These personalities that you feel you have, if you're extroverted, if you're introverted, if you're open to new experience, the people who are open to experience are people who are very creative, who are imaginative and all that. If you have any of these personalities, what it simply means is that what molded whatever personality you see is a compendium of your genetics, your development, your exposure, your environment. It's not exactly you. It means it can be worked on, it can be changed. You can make some get more expressed than some. Some of those features are dormant. They are all available inside of you, but you can express some more than the other. It's not like you're exactly statically conformed to a particular disposition. Every single one of these things can be changed. If you're a person who is not outgoing, you're not sociable, you can actually become one. But here's the point. If you want to be really productive, you have to first of all understand that it's the right personality that is needed for the right environment that needs to be demonstrated. For instance, if you're in a situation that calls upon you speaking on a stage and you fail to do so, you are not productive. If you're also in a situation that requires you to be collected, to work in an isolated place, and you're not doing that, you're not productive as well. So what I'm trying to explain to you is every single personality that you have is only available for the right moment. So you're not just static. You're not just who exactly you are without changing anything. It's a hybrid mix. That means every single environment, every single thing, every single situation you find yourself in requires a personality that needs to be demonstrated to match the productivity that is needed to be maximized. That means your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and the traits that you have available to you. If you can understand and master each of these things, you will be able to create an appropriate mix for the time being, for the situation, for the environment, because your personality traits are a packet of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and traits. So understanding these four things, these four categories of packets of entities kind of helps you demonstrate the right required personality in the right environment. Now, what are strengths? Strength is simply anything you can control. Any single thing you can control is a strength. What it simply means is that if you have any feature that is good, any feature that is competent, and you can't control it, it's actually not a strength, but a source of trait. If you look good, you're beautiful, you're attractive, you have all kinds of wonderful features, but you can't control it, it's a source of threat. It's not strength. Strength is any single thing you can control. Even if it's something that is good, something that is bad, something that is wrong, something that is right. As long as you can control it, it is strength. It's the profound difference between being powerful and being dangerous. Danger requires lack of control. It's like a child. Every single child, every single kid is dangerous because if you let them run wild, they can set your house on fire. They can even, it looks like kids have a wish for self-harm. But the difference between a child and you and all the things they do is that right now you have those things under control. So what strength is control. Anything you can control is strength. Anything you can't control is not strength. So being dangerous is having no control. But being powerful is attaching control to whatever competence that you demonstrate. Now, what are weaknesses? Weaknesses obviously are things that you can't control. Any single thing that you can't control is a weakness. But weaknesses have two manifestations. Number one is inability. Inability means you don't have any ability. Obviously, it's a weakness. Then number two is extreme or uncontrolled ability. That is also a weakness. The things you don't have and the things you can't control are both weaknesses. The extremes of your ability are both weaknesses. The inability and the uncontrolled ability, they are both weaknesses. Now that is strength, weaknesses. Now, what are opportunities? Opportunity is any platform, any entity, anything at all that exists that gives profound definition, expression, or manifestation to your identity and ability. Anything you are and the things you can do, whatever gives some sort of an expression to it is an opportunity. Anything at all that gives expression to it. This could be people, this could be platforms, this could be environments, this could be anything. But whatever gives an expression to your ability and identity is an opportunity. Now that begs the question, what are threats? What are the things that threaten you and how can you identify them? And it's simple. Every single thing or anything that exists that can exploit your weaknesses are threats. Anything at all. Anything that can exploit your weaknesses are threats. And I explained to you what weaknesses are. Weaknesses are the things that you cannot control. So whatever it is that exists that can exploit the thing that you can't control, that is what a threat is. So what it simply means is, but but before telling you what all this means, it's important that you understand something really important. Threats will always exist. Weaknesses will always exist. Opportunities will always exist. And strengths will always exist. Every single time, at every single point in your life, you can't do away with weaknesses. You can't do away with threats. You can't do away with opportunities. You can't do away with any of these four elements. But here is something really important that I don't want you to forget. Threats, the things that are called threats, don't care about your weaknesses. They don't care about your strengths. They only care about your opportunities. But guess what? It's impossible for threats to attack your opportunities without coming through your weaknesses. It means that every single thing you call a threat would come through your weaknesses against your strengths for your opportunities. That means your strength have to be dismantled before the threats can attack your opportunities. And it will do that by coming through your weaknesses. So it's not really about your weaknesses. It's not really about your strength. It's about your opportunity. Those platforms, those people, those entities, whatever it is that exists that give expression to who you are and what you can do, the things that come against it, that is what the threat is. So it's after the opportunity. It's not after your strength and weaknesses. So every single time you find yourself unproductive, every single time you find yourself confused, you find yourself embarrassed, you find yourself in a situation where you hate, the reason that happened, or what that situation really targets, it's not the fact that you have weaknesses. It's not the fact that you're incompetent. It's the opportunities that you have, because it's the opportunities that is the real sin. That is the real sin. Now, I'm going to talk to you about the reactions that are involved with your strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. The reactions that are involved in this. And if you can understand and get this, you would have helped your life and productivity to at least 60%. Now, there are also various aspects of productivities and all that, but you would have helped yourself to 60%. Now, the first reaction is this: the reaction between your strengths and weaknesses. You know, like I told you, that strengths are things you can control. And for most people, they focus on using their strengths to combat their weaknesses. And like I told you, you always have these four things. You can't do away with your weaknesses. The only thing you can do with your weaknesses is to transform them, not to eliminate them. You can't eliminate weaknesses. Weaknesses are the evidence that you're limited as far as you exist. Now, the first reaction is reacting your strength and your weaknesses. You don't want to do this. If you react to your strength and weaknesses, it nullifies each other, like nothing really happened. You stay stagnant and static in 1.4 as long as possible. It's like plus 15 minus 15. Strength against weakness. You get zero, you get nothing. You get stuck at the same point. So you don't waste your time using your strength to fight your weaknesses. Now, I know the question in your heart is, what then do I do with my weaknesses if it's the avenue that threats exploit? What then do I would do with them? I'll tell you. But you don't want to react to your strength and weaknesses. They nullify each other. You don't want to spend your time reacting, fighting your weaknesses with your strength. Now, the second reaction is a reaction between your strength and opportunities. Now, this is exactly where you want to focus on. Your strengths are not made for weaknesses. Your strengths are not even made for threats. Your strengths are made for opportunities. When you react to your strength with your opportunity, you get an advantage. It's important you understand that the only reason you have strength is to embrace opportunities to create an advantage for you. Now, if you react your strength against threats, you don't just like you don't want to waste your time reacting your strength against weaknesses, which nullifies. What do you think happens when you react your strength, the things you can control, against threats, the things that come against you? You will get exhausted because the threat never ends, the threat never finishes, and you keep fighting threats. These are people that see threats in every single thing. They see negativity in every single thing. They see the disappointment of life, and they fight disappointment, they fight threats, they fight things that could exploit their weaknesses. You will get exhausted. Your strengths are not even made for threats. Your strengths are made for opportunities. Now, there's also another class of people who belong to a particular order reaction, where your where your weaknesses react with opportunities. These are people who always get opportunities, but they are weak. Like I told you, weakness is simply the things you can't control that is manifested in inability or uncontrollability. If you embrace an opportunity with a weakness, with the things you can't control, you always end in shame or embarrassment. That is how most people get embarrassed. You're weak, you can't control anything, and you're looking for a stage, you're looking for a platform, you're looking for things. You'd always get embarrassed and shame. So what that means is that before you embrace any opportunity, you need to develop strength. You need to develop something that you can control. Now, what happens when you react opportunities and threats? Now, it's basically can't be reacted, and it doesn't even matter if you react opportunities and threats. It's like mixing two opposing things in a box. They'll always separate out. It's not about the opportunities, it's not about the threats, because the threats don't even care about the opportunities, and unless it does that through your weaknesses against your strength, then it can affect your opportunity, not someone else's opportunity. Now, here is a reaction that you don't want to happen. That is when weaknesses meet threats. Every single disappointment, every single heartbreak, every single issues you've had in life, every single unproductive moment only has happened when your weaknesses has come in contact with a threat, something that exploits it. The weaknesses can't do anything to your opportunities or your strength except if it reacts with your threats, with the threats that are available to you. You need to understand that it's keeping those reactions apart, keeping your weaknesses from interacting with the threats that are available to you, that you can become productive. So, to answer the question, what do you do with your threats, the things that threaten you? And what do you do with your weaknesses? It's simple. You keep them apart. You don't let them interact. If there are areas that you can't control in your life and there are things or people that exploit it, you simply keep them apart. You don't figure out what happens when they react. You don't try to resist. If you have an addiction for something, you have to extract the elements that create a cue for that habit or behavior to be reinforced. You need to keep the threats away from the weakness for you to maximize productivity. So your strength and opportunity won't become against. So yes, this is the reactions. And don't forget that the two most important reaction here is the reaction between your opportunities and your strength. That is the only reaction that creates an advantage for you when strength meets opportunity. And the second most important one is when weaknesses meet threat. That is when you get a disadvantage. You get an advantage when strength meets opportunity. You get a disadvantage every single time when weakness meets threat. So you keep these reactions apart and you let these reactions meet. And that is that for your personality SWOT analysis. Now, let me tell you something really important. Learning about your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats and what to do with them, and understanding that what you demonstrate is a hybrid mix. That is the personality that is needed for the moment. And it's in the understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you know what exactly is it that can create harm or a threat to whatever personality that I demonstrate. It's in any of these things. It's in understanding this SWOT analysis that you get that and demonstrate each and anyone better. But here is the problem. Even with understanding your SWOT analysis, you're still likely not to act out and still remain in the shell of your confined personality. You're still likely to term yourself introverted. You're still likely to term yourself extroverted. You're still likely to term yourself the personalities that was only manifested in the course of the interaction with your environment and experiences and all that, because of one word: fear. People are afraid of doing things. People are afraid of stepping out of their comfort zone. People are afraid of doing anything that is worth it, because it's more comfortable, it's more non-threatening to remain in your shells. It's more non-threatening to not step out and pursue your dreams. It's more comfortable to sit in your room and do nothing all day, because you're afraid of what happens if you actually do. But here's the thing. Courage or bravery is not the absence of fear. It's what you do despite fear. What this means is, even if you're afraid of what happens, if you're afraid of what happens if you step out of your comfort zone, you still have to do it while you are afraid. Because most people are afraid of even failing, not knowing that failure is one of the elements that are required for you to make success, to create success. And I'm not just saying that metaphorically. It's actually literally one of the elements that is needed to create success. Let me give you. There are literally 4 stages of creating success in anything. The first one is when you fail at succeeding. That is when you attempt something and you fail at it. Right? You want to succeed at something and you fail instead. You fail at succeeding. And then the second stage is when you succeed at failing. Now, I know this looks a little bit confusing, but succeeding at failing, the first stage that talks about failing to succeed is the initial where you dive out and you really want to succeed at something. And the second stage that talks about succeeding at failing is when you now get comfortable with failing. You're looking for what route to succeed at, and every single time what you see is failure, 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 failure. It's like Thomas Edison trying to come up with the light bulb, the problem of solving the problem of the light bulb, and he did that for tens of times, for more than 80 times, every single experiment. So right now he's at the stage where he has succeeded at failing, because the next thing he does is going to fail, the next thing he does is going to fail, the next thing he does is going to fail. It's like the 7-Up company attempting to create a formula for a soft drink, and they did that for 6 times and only succeeded at the 7th time. Now the thing is, you first make an attempt to succeed, and then you fail at succeeding, and then secondly you succeed at failing, and then thirdly you fail at failing. Failing at failing is when you've gotten so used with the interaction and experiment of failing that you've mastered the principles that governs failure, so that you can learn to avoid it, that you even try to fail and you can't fail. And then finally, you can succeed at succeeding. Now, if you notice that at every single step in the way where you fail at succeeding, you succeed at failing, you fail at failing, and finally succeed at succeeding, there is failure at every single step. You're failing, 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 and then finally you succeed. So if you're afraid of failing, you have the right kind of fear, because you're afraid of the thing that is required to create a success. But what is wrong with it is that you're not doing anything about it. So whatever it is you're afraid of, whatever it is that have impeded the expression of courage and bravery for you, it's actually time for you to do those things that you can't do, those things you're afraid of, because it is failure reacted in the experiment of creating success that eventually creates success. Now, the best kind of feeling you can actually have, the best and the most explosive kind of feeling you can actually have, it's not just when there is no fear involvement in the things you do. It's not, and I'm saying this from experience. The same feelings and body movement and the same things you feel when you're excited about a thing is the same thing you feel when you're scared about a thing. If you've ever found yourself speaking in a stage for the first time, when your hands shake and your voice shake a bit and you're not comfortable with the stage and a couple of things, it's the same thing that happens when you find something you're excited about. You still have the same feeling. So the best kind of feeling you could have is when you're scared and you do it anyway. You can't really explain it. If you want to feel positively different for the next 1 month, 30 days, try doing the things you're afraid of, despite the fear, but positive things. Those things that you're afraid of. What happens? What if I feel? The best feeling is actually that feeling of a mixture of fear and bravery. Because like I said, bravery is not the absence of fear. Bravery is what you do despite fear to manifest and create the results that you want. So the next time, I'll be teaching you the solutions with all kinds of unproductive moments you've had. How exactly do you now actually become productive? We'll be looking at this from 3 different aspects: psychology, biology, and technology. Every single thing that have affected productivity for you as an individual, we'll be looking at it. So thank you for paying attention, and see you when next I come your way.